Have you ever had an experience so surreal that you couldn't ignore it? Today, I'm sharing my journey of learning to trust my spiritual intuition without feeling like I'm losing credibility in a logical world. Okay, let's get into it. Hey, this is Francisca, and this is my mid-crisis life. So, what do I want to talk about today? Okay, so the other day, I was sitting in meditation, and I was thinking a lot about my desire for this channel, right? And this kind of like innate wanting that I have for this to have some meaning, right? For this to have some purpose, for this to have some impact, for it to mean something, for it to make some difference, for it to be contributory or instrumental or contributory at least, contributory. Anyway, at least, right, to contribute in some way to there being some kind of change, to there being some kind of renaissance, some kind of revolution, some change in emotional intelligence, in our understanding of one another, in our understanding of ourselves, in our desire to love and to give grace and to have grace, and to move out of this kind of like individualistic, self-obsessed, masculine energy. And please nobody take offense when I say masculine energy. I don't mean men specifically, but I mean that kind of energy that's more about pushing forward, making strides, and I don't know, I was going to say evolving, but it's not evolving. It's like conquering and anyway, whatever. I'm not going to get into that. Maybe in another video. Anyway, so I was sat in meditation and I was thinking, I was meditating on this. And I remember asking my higher self, I remember saying, how can I make that shift to allow this channel to become accessible to lots of people, right? And, you know, my cognitive brain was like, do I need to do this? Should I do that? Should I pay for ads, or like, should I pay for more ads, or should I make more videos? Should I make them longer? Should I make them shorter? Should I make them more engaging? Should I put a post out? Like, I'm like trying to think of all these like technical, logistical ways that I can make this channel move. And my higher self came back to me and just said, basically, I need to be real. And that's not to say that I haven't been real. Up until now, I have. I've shared lots about my life and my thought processes and my family and things that are difficult for me and the challenges that I'm facing and adversity and those constant kind of like cycles of crises that we go through, and the patterns that there are, and the expansion and the contraction and all of those sorts of things. So it's definitely been real. But Spirit was talking to me about being real, about showing another side of me, showing a more kind of spiritual, magical, mystical side of me. Even as I say it, I think about like Mystic Meg and people that, I don't know, read your star signs. And I mean, not even, I don't know, right? My friend's like way into astronomy and astronomy or astrology? Astrology. And I mean, it's fascinating, right? But I think, I mean, it makes me think about those kind of hacks that do that sort of stuff and convince you that they know something more than what you know, that prey on people who are vulnerable, who prey on people who are bereft and going through loss or bereavement, trying to make sense of stuff, and use that kind of like mystical, magical, sixth sense, that kind of, what's the word? I can't think of the word now, but anyway, use that whole realm to to take the piss out of people, to use people, to exploit people, you know? And I think beyond that, I think one of the things that I'm scared of in some terms of talking about this sort of stuff is that I think that people are going to think that I'm crazy. Basically, people are going to think that I'm crazy. People are going to think the things that I say have no value, that I'm going to sound like an absolute nutcase, like a nut job. And that really worries me, right? But I also think about, like, how is it possible that I'm ever going to make the kind of change that I want, that I'm going to be able to contribute to this awakening that's happening across the globe, that I think everybody who is tuned in, everyone who's like not patched into the matrix, can feel this change happening, can feel this shift in energy happening, can feel this kind of renaissance building, that's bringing people back to something that's more spiritual, that's more communal, that's more homeopathic or whatever, right? How can I make any real change in the midst of that and change these things that I think that are the issue in the world that we have, like, you know, the powers that be, all the conspiracies that there are out there, but like this kind of real sense of evil that has been predominantly in charge, that's been pervasive within society for as long as we can remember now. How am I going to make any real change to that, to the system, to the matrix, you know, if I don't talk about it, if I don't talk about my spiritual experiences? And it's worrying for me because sometimes they sound completely off the chain. So it's like, how can I do that in a way that doesn't lose me credibility? How can I reconcile these two sides of myself in a way that my higher self is guiding me to do, right? So I thought today was a good day. Was as good a day as any, right, to do that. So, you know, look, I'm not going to talk about the times that I've like sat in therapy with demons, or, you know, seen the gates of heaven, or passed over lost souls in a desert on the 7th dimension, or times where I've like channeled Jesus and he's shown me how energy comes down into the world and how it gets transmuted by us, or been in spaceships, or I don't know, seen how the universe is like endlessly unfolding in out of itself, which actually is not really doing. It's, or like, you know, had consultations with like tiny little wizards with long white beards who have like taken me to the edge of space and time and dimensions, or shown me the future. How can I do this in a way that is going to be more palatable to people who don't necessarily find themselves in a position where they can believe in these sorts of things? And I guess really at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, right? If you don't believe, then this isn't for you. Move on. So what I thought I would do is I thought I would just share something really simple that happened to me recently. But maybe is more tangible, that's more grounded, that has more concreteness, more gravitas, and perhaps won't make me sound like an absolute psychopath. So I made a video a couple of months ago now, back in December before Christmas time, and I'll put it up here, right? What I was talking about in this video was, as always, I was talking about my mum, because, you know, I was living with her and she was something that was quite dominant in my life. That relationship was quite dominant in my life at the time. Anyway, just before I made this video, I had what I would say probably was a panic attack. And I'm not really one to have panic attacks, right? Never really have been. I never really get overwhelmed to the point where I can't cope with things that are going on around me. I try to take things slowly. I try to look at everything from the most objective place that I possibly can. And I try to recognize my emotional state before I'm at a point where I'm panicking. But on this day, I can't really describe it as anything else other than a panic attack, basically. And I called a load of people and I was hyperventilating. I was crying. I was sobbing. Down the phone talking to people about my mum and how painful that relationship was and how cruel she could be and why she was like that. Like, why? Like, I know that there's no answer, right? But in that moment, I just wanted some solace. I wanted some answer as to why it needed to be the way that it was. Why did I get dealt these cards? Why? It just felt so painful at the time. Anyway, after I had this massive emotional outpouring, this outburst, over the next few weeks, I really just didn't want to be around my mum. So I was working a lot. I was working probably like 10, 11 hours a day. So I was out of the house most of the day. I'd come home, I'd have dinner, and then I'd go sit in my car and watch TV on my phone. And then at the weekend, I'd take my ass out there and go to my friend's house. And that happened for about 3 weeks, I would say. And I remember over that time, something was just really shifting in me. But I didn't know it at the time. Looking back now, I'm like, I can see the shift. But all I really knew is that I didn't want to be around my mum. Basically, I didn't want to be in that environment. I didn't want to be in that atmosphere. Anyway, one weekend I was at my friend's house and I was sleeping and I had this dream. And I remembered it vividly when I woke up. So I had this dream that I looked down and all of a sudden I noticed that I was pregnant. I had a big pregnant belly. And I just remember being really shocked. I never knew, where did this come from? I had no idea, right? Anyway, this pregnancy developed really, really rapidly and it started growing at this exponential rate. So my belly's getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And, within a very short space of time, I've given birth to this baby. And I remember when I gave birth to the baby, 2 of my friends were there, my friend and her partner, who I was actually staying with at the time. And I just remember something happening and both of them acting in a protective capacity. And I remember in the dream just thinking, oh, okay, cool. My friends are there. They're there to look after me. I'm safe. Everything's okay, right? And I woke up out of this dream and I was somewhere between asleep and awake. I was in that space where you're not quite awake, but you're aware of your surroundings, but you're still kind of in the dream and whatever else. And I was thinking with my conscious mind about this dream that I had had. And all of a sudden, a voice from somewhere inside my head said, yes, 19th of January, 2025. I was like, okay, that's a very specific date. All right, cool. So I got up, got on with my life, whatever. Anyway, over the next few weeks, I remember it was Christmas and my brother had agreed to come down. He was supposed to come down on one day. He didn't turn up. He then said he would be there in the evening. He didn't turn up. He then said he'd come in the morning. He didn't turn up. And then he said he'd come the next day and he didn't turn up. And basically he just kept on fobbing us off and not turning up at the house. So I made the decision I was going to go down to my friend's house and spend some time there. And I was chilling there anyway. While I was there, my brother turned up. And there was this kind of like expectation from my mum and my brother that now that my brother had bothered to grace us with his presence, that I should immediately drive the 40 miles back from my friend's house to come and sit in the house with him because, I need to give him his Christmas present and whatever. This is a guy, right, who didn't even call me on my 40th birthday, didn't even remember it was my birthday, text me 5 days later because my mum had called him and said, hey, you better text your sister and say happy 40th. And then bought me a card and packet of Rolos. Was it Rolos? No, he bought me a card and some Doritos. That's what he got me for my 40th birthday. Anyway, this is the guy that I was supposed to run back for. And I just remember at the time just thinking to myself, yeah, no, I'm good, actually. Like, I really don't feel like I need to make effort with people who don't make effort with me. And actually, I don't really feel like I should be giving my energy to people who don't give their energy back to me. And more to the point, I think I'm just going to match other people's energy with whatever it is that they're giving. If they're investing in me, I'm going to invest in you, right? But if the energy you give me is dead energy, is negative energy, is twisted and toxic energy, no, man, you can keep it. I'm not going to give you toxic energy back, but I'm certainly not going to be running my ass back 40 miles to come and see you, right? And I remember something just shifted. It shifted in that time. And over and over the next few weeks, I could feel myself more and more really detaching from my mum and feeling not anger as such, but just feeling this feeling of, I don't even know, detachment. Just like, whatever bullshit you're going on about, whatever. All right, cool. like I could not be bothered anymore to appease her, to please her, to play the game, right? You're being toxic. Okay, cool. I'm not engaging anymore. And I know that she was really, really struggling with that. And I think all of these things are what led up to what culminated in this moment in time where we had this humongous argument. And I've spoken about it before, and I'll put the video up here if anybody wants to see it. And she finally kicked us out of the house. My whole attitude had completely shifted. Now, the reason I'm telling you this is because, as I say, Spirit told me that, you know, there's a need to share these kind of more ethereal, there's a word that I'm looking for, and I really can't remember what it is. Never mind. Now, when I had this dream, right, my immediate thought was this, right? So, okay, what does pregnancy, what does babies mean in a dream? You're talking about birth of some kind. You're talking about something being grown, something being developed, something being created, right? There's a creation that's happening, and that then that is going to come to fruition. That is going to be birthed out of me, right? And it's going to happen really quickly. And I was thinking to myself, oh, maybe it's my channel. Maybe my channel is just going to blow up. Yeah, it's going to blow up. Like, and I had this date. I was like, yeah, 19th of December, my life's going to change. It's going to change. My channel, my baby, my little baby that I've been growing, it's just suddenly rapidly going to grow. And that's it. My life's going to be completely different. But actually, what happened? What happened on the 19th of January? The 19th of January, 2025 was the last day that I slept in my mum's house. And I think, honestly, the growth and the rapidity of that growth, right? The rapidness of that growth was my change in attitude, was my change in development. It was the creation of a new stance, the creation of a new boundary, the creation of a new me, a new version of me that was no longer engaging in any of this shit. And what happened? It climaxed, it culminated, it all culminated on the 19th of January. And that was the last night I ever slept at my mum's house. And where did I go? Where did I go? I messaged my friend and I said, yeah, my mum's kicked me and my kids out the house. Like, we got to leave. It's like 9 o'clock in the evening. We got to go. She's kicked us out. She's taken our keys back. She's done. My friend said, all right, cool. You're coming here, right? No, but sure. So anyway, Went round to my friend's house and it was the exact same friend that I had in the dream. Her and her partner took me in, looked after me, protected me in that moment in time. I'm not gonna lie, it feels really uncomfortable to sit here and talk about these kind of like prophetic, spiritual based phenomena that happened to me. But number one, I really do feel like it's necessary. Number two, I feel like if there are people out there that want to hear it, they will. And number three, I think that if it helps other people to recognize these things that are beyond logic, that are beyond reason, right? That we all have access to, all of us, and be able to tune into that a little bit more and not feel like there has to be like a battle between your mind and your spirit, between the tangible and the intangible, that there isn't duality, that it's all just one thing, and that every part of it is creating some kind of understanding, right? That's adding to the puzzle, that's adding to the picture in some way, like painting by numbers, right? Everything can't be the same color. It can't, right? So if it can help people like that, and if it can help people who have seen my videos and know for a fact that I'm not a fucking nut job, right? To accept that and accept these other planes, these things that are beyond explanation, that they all too exist, and that there are forces at work that are beyond what we can see and what we can touch, what we can hear, what we can taste. There are things that we can feel if we open ourselves up to it. And actually, that's a really important part of reality as well. If it can help with that, then amazing. Great. Anyway, I've been talking for ages. So let's think of something that I'm grateful for. You know, I think I'm grateful for all of the experiences that I've had that have been out of this world. All the times that I've gone into meditation and I've had consultations with people and I've been shown things, all the times that I've had visions that have flashed up in my mind that have guided me in some way, or I've heard someone talking to me and telling me and showing me things where, you know, like when my senses have been attuned to and alive to all of the other shit that there is out there, and how much that has benefited me, how much that has protected me, how much that's guided me in my life so far. And I guess the thing is that even if I am crazy, even if I've got some kind of multiple personality disorder, and I'm hearing voices that are not my own and I'm medically diagnosable, I guess the thing is it doesn't fucking matter. If it's bringing good to me, if it's bringing good to the people around me, and if it's bringing good to other people, long may it rain, man. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All good, peeps. Thanks. That's it.
What's one intuitive experience you've had that you couldn't explain? Drop a comment below. And if this resonated with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and keep exploring the unseen with me.